This is Randy Bridges with L5 Consulting. I'm CEO, and thank you very much for coming in to find out a little bit about how an established professional tax firm turned annual tax filing into a recurring revenue stream. Now, I want to, before we jump into this too much, I want to point out that pretty much any professional service company can do the same type of thing without having to go through and do too much adjusting off of what we've done here. So, as a backstory, I began working with American tax professionals in 2005. So, it's been a little over 15 years. And originally, the owner came in to the company I was working for at the time and wanted to bring his IT to a company from the outside. Now, he had already taken some certifications and what have you, so he was really familiar with IT as a whole, but he was going to follow the who, not how principle and outsource that particular part to another company. And our company was the one that he came in, talked with us, got a good handle on things, and asked us to take over the entire support. I assumed the lead on the system and network support at the time. And about 6 months into the environment, I noticed that there was a problem that had nothing to do with IT directly. It was that the clients were having difficulties. Our client was having difficulty completing tax returns because their clients couldn't get the file to them they needed in order to do tax filing. So we investigated this, talked with them about it, and brought it back to the table with the owner of my company and said, hey, maybe we need to get together with this client. So we did, and we brought them and some other people into a breakfast and learn. And as we went through everything, you could see the client beginning to understand what we were really going to be doing. We were going to bring everything into a cloud-based network. We were going to put everything out in our data center. We were going to bring his clients' files, all of their tax files for QuickBooks, over to the data center. They could access their files from anywhere, while American tax professionals could access the same sets of files and all their own, plus do tax returns as needed entirely in the cloud. Now, in exchange for doing all of this, essentially the client would be charged a monthly fee that at the end of the year added up to the annual tax return fees, which was great for the client because now their clients were able to make monthly payments on everything. And so that helped American tax professionals while their clients were able to go out and do all of their bookkeeping pretty much in the cloud. They could outsource everything either to another bookkeeping firm or handle it themselves. Now, the primary drivers for this was it was going to be located in a data center, so it needed to have high security and essentially no outages due to power or the internet access. That was one of the key things that American tax professionals brought to the problem as a conversation as their primary drivers. So we used this as a functional decision of how they could start doing this. Keep in mind, they're receiving money month after month without having to worry about, one time a year, all the finances come in, helps to float the company along and also be able to provide a month-to-month, not only revenue, but month-to-month expense without having to go crazy about things. Now, tactically, we're going to look at some really simple action points on this. We wanted an easy Citrix desktop and application deployment for the clients. We wanted it nice and simple for them, but we were going to have it all on enterprise-grade servers with centralized file storage. Now, the client, American tax professionals, had their own internal network. We structured the cloud-based network for them just like it was inside their company. So it was familiar to all the staff members. They knew where all the drive letters were all the same. And all the versions of the software were now going to be the same. You didn't have to worry about which computer was accessing which version of a file, which version of software, were there conflicts. All that went away, which simplified the entire process overall. And since software upgrades were handled on a server level basis, that meant that we could do one set of upgrades at a time, and it's usually all upgrades could be scheduled and handled in one session. So, looking at the outcomes and benefits, going to this cloud based environment, besides for them and their expenses and us and our expenses, downtime for their clientele was reduced to less than 5 minutes per year. That was, I mean, we would have, the client would have originally outages that they were running it on their local network, so it would be, Comcast would go down, the AC would overheat in the summer, they would shut down power. Now we've got, rolling blackouts happening through the state, and it made no sense not to go to an environment like this. We could bring up and spin up an environment in a handful of minutes simply by copying and pasting and putting a little bit of security into place. About 5 to 10 minutes, and a client was up and running. The end user's training was also very much streamlined because it was a traditional desktop or it was a traditional cloud-based app. So they could get to it from anywhere, launch it, and there it is. I mean, there's everything they need. By going to the data center, they were able to enhance the security completely compared to where it would be. There was no physical location you could get into. There was nobody, traipsing in, doing taxes and meetings and things like this. Their backups moved from, we had a typical rotation of 30 days. It moved to 180 days. So basically 6 months of backups without having to go to any kind of an archive. So the clients themselves, the people that were coming in to use the system, had no worry of losing their files because their own local laptop died or their own local computer died. And since all changes were logged, all attempts to hack were stopped at the firewall. Everything was blocked. We could keep it very clearly understood. It was monitored 24/7, so we didn't have to worry too much when it came to the clients actually accessing this. Overall, the client experience, and as we go through and do this all the time, the client experience is that this is consistently high marks. It's almost always available. We do updates when it's a known type of thing. And in the meantime, American Tax Professionals has the ability to support the client in a financial way without having to worry about all the technology problems that go along with it. So if you're interested in getting a case study about this, reading a little bit more, having that as a sample of what could be done, there's a button down below this video. You can just click on that button. It'll give you an opportunity it'll just ask you for your name and your email address. And then what'll happen is about 5 to 8 minutes, that email will come into your inbox. And we're going to have a video on the other side after you do that. But for right now, I just want you to know that this case study is one of my favorites. It's as a 15-year client plus, to be able to streamline this process long before a lot of other companies were doing it. This was very valuable to the client, our client, very valuable to us because it simplified the process of handling things. I've now moved all of that over to L5 Cloud, which is my company that I do all of my technical work with. If you want more information about L5 Consulting, you can see our website address there is www.l5consulting.com. If you want to get more information via email, you can just send us an email to info@l5consulting.com, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.